Good afternoon, and again, welcome to RPR Residential. I was just waiting a few moments to give everyone a chance to log in and get situated. I am Maggie. I will be your trainer this afternoon for RPR Residential. Get started with RPR. So RPR stands for Realtor Property Resource. It is one of your tools offered through National Association of Realtors. So remember, when you become a member at the association, at orientation, we explain that your membership grants you access to the local MLS and the local association, which is Miami Realtors. It also will grant you access to Florida Realtors and their tools and resources, as well as National Association of Realtors, their tools and resources. So RPR is one of those resources. Now, it does not have a consumer side, which means that that's why it's called Realtor Property Resource. It is just for realtors. However, you can, of course, share information with consumers by creating reports and sharing those reports via email, or there is also a mobile application and you can share it through the mobile application via text message, email, and WhatsApp. You can even post to social media. We do cover the mobile application in a class called Mobile Realtor with Miami. We have recordings available of our classes on youtube.com/miamitrainers, as well as on miamirealtorslive.com. So you can get there by visiting this website directly, or once you log into your gateway, you'll find an icon for Miami Realtors Live in the first row. I do want to point out that if you have not used RPR, you do have to activate RPR by visiting narrpr.com and clicking on create a new account. It will ask you for your last name and your email address. Please provide the email address that you originally included on your membership application, because that's the email address that we sent NAR. Once you've got everything set up, if you want to go ahead and call them to change that, you absolutely can. I'm going to go ahead and just take a minute to share this link with you in the chat. The good news is that once you set it up, you don't have to repeat this process or enter your username and password. Please jot it down and keep it somewhere safe, because you will need that information to log into the mobile application. All right, so let's go ahead and log into the gateway, where we will have RPR linked as a single sign-on product. So up at the top of miamirealtors.com, it says login with the Miami Gateway. And right beneath here, you've got the Miami Gateway on the left-hand side as well. So we're going to go ahead and log in with our license and password. Scroll down and look for that RPR icon. RPR is going to be next to IMAP and Realist. It is one of your 3 tax roll solution programs. All 3 products give you access to information from the tax roll, but each one of them differs slightly in the reports and additional features that they have. So RPR, again, is from National Association of Realtors. So you do have information from more than 260 participating associations. So if at any point in time you wanted to find listings outside of our MLS, this could be one of the places where you find it. It does have a residential and commercial side. And earlier today, I did teach the commercial class. And so you do have both sets of data available on RPR. So you can use RPR to study a specific property, to pull information from the tax record, to see the MLS history, to look at the data, the demographics, the population, school information. There's tons of info in RPR. So we're going to go ahead and click on it to launch. And you're going to go ahead and get to your home screen. So this is our home or starting point for RPR. On the left-hand side, you should see your office logo or Miami Realtors. Home, which clicking on the home option will bring you back to this screen. Research, where you can search for a specific property. You can search using the map. You can do a neighborhood search, which is going to give you information on population, age, female versus male, married versus unmarried, household income, etc. School search, which will show you schools in an area and then allow you to search for listings in that area. Residential market activity search, which is going to give you the market activity for that area or zip code. We have the commercial site selection and map insights, which we covered in the RPR commercial class. And then at the end, you have how to research, which is a video from RPR. Under marketing, you have prospecting for residential clients because you have because you have data from the public record, you could use that to do some prospecting, and you can even print mailing labels. We have prospecting for commercial clients, which we do in the RPR commercial class. You can create a property flyer, you can create a commercial property report, and then you have additional marketing tips. Under reports, these are the reports that are available. So in today's class, I do want to make sure to show you the property report. There's a shorter version of it called the mini property report. You have the seller's report, which is their version of a CMA, a property flyer. The valuation workbook is used by appraisers, so we won't be using that. Market activity report, which takes that market activity search and then generates a report or creates a report. Same with the neighborhood and school report. For commercial, you do have a property report, a trade area report, and a trade area analysis. Again, these are covered in the RPR commercial class. For the reports, you do have a bell. You can turn that bell on or off at the very top. The bell does sound like a doorbell. Next to that, you have the learning section where you will find videos, some FAQs, and some realtor feedback. And then under help, you have their 1-800 number, their live chat, you have a training area, and you have their email. They are available 24/7 because it is a product provided by National Association of Realtors. They have to be available for everyone at all times. Under my work, you will find anything and everything that you have done recently and or saved. My markets, which will be setting up through your settings, your listings, your saved properties, your recent properties, your reports, your notes, your saved searches, your recent searches. Anything that is labeled as recent in RPR means that after 30 days, it will no longer be recent and you will no longer have access. So I can click on a property and look at it today, and I'll see it listed under recent properties for the next 30 days. After that, it's not going to be there anymore, which is why I have the option to save. Any property or search that I save will stay saved until I delete it or remove it. We have my picture and an arrow with our profile and settings, which we will go into shortly. Beneath that, you start to have it's like your search bar, your search area. You can search for residential or commercial, so you can easily toggle between the two just by clicking this button. The commercial side does also have data from Bravidas and Crexis. The residential side, as mentioned, does have our MLS data and tax record data, but they also have MLS data from more than 260 participating associations across the country. You can search by using an address, a city, a zip code, a folio number, an MLS number, etc. Under type and status, you can look for sale or for lease. You can look for just public records when you're farming. Under property type, you can select your property types. You have your price, beds, baths, and additional filters by clicking on the button that says filters. Okay, so the additional filters will include distressed, which is foreclosure, open house, land or lot use, occupancy, owner occupied or absentee owner. You can search by owner name, year built, time owned, and you can also use keywords or suggested popular keywords, which will search the remarks. You can then also include properties with null or blank values on price and size fields, which means it's lacking some data for whatever reason. You can choose to include that or not. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and collapse this by clicking on filters again. You have shortcuts to some frequently used resources in RPR. You can prospect for clients. You can search using the map if you're very visual. You can jump in to create a report. The investor analysis, which we cover in a class called Working with Investors, it's a way for you to calculate return on investment to determine whether or not a property would be a worthwhile investment for your investors. You can search for properties in opportunity zones, create a CMA, or tour this homepage. You have your markets, which we will be adding in your settings shortly. And so for each of the markets, you'll see the information and activity on the map. You have 3 tiles or cards beneath that: your listings, current and previous, your properties, anything you saved, anything you viewed recently, reports and notes. Reports are only stored for 30 days, so I recommend saving a copy to your device. Your searches, saved and recent. Okay, beneath that you have a link to RPR's Facebook group. You can also, again, here's a card with their phone number, and then on-demand training. They really do have a great blog. So right beneath that where it says blog, when you get a chance, I would highly recommend you check that out. So let's start with your profile and settings. Top right corner, click on that arrow next to the circle or your picture and click on profile. Now from the profile, you can add in your picture and your logo. You can add in your name and last name, your title, your office, and then you can add in your contact information. You can add in multiple phone numbers using add more, multiple fax numbers, again, add more, multiple email addresses, and multiple websites. Under MLS or CIE info, you can or should be seeing Realtor Association of Miami down here. If you don't see it, you can go ahead and select the state, then select the MLS and add it. You use your agent ID as your license. If you are a secondary member somewhere else, you can also add them in by repeating that process. You can add in your license number. Let's say you're licensed in multiple states. You can add in all of those licenses. Making your license number visible on reports is not a requirement in Florida, but it is elsewhere. Either way, people can search DBPR to see if your license is valid and active. It's public knowledge, but you can add your license number, and you can also add up to 3 assistants. Each assistant must have their own license though. At the end, you can receive RPR updates and news by checking this off or not. You do have to read and agree to their terms of use and privacy policy, and then make sure you click on save. I scroll back up to the top on the right-hand side. I have account information. I can update my password, my time zone, and I can also see how or what devices have accessed my RPR account. All right, so I do want to show you how to use RPR in a variety of ways today. So I do want to show you how you can use RPR to study and analyze a specific property. I do want to show you how you can use RPR to do some farming and prospecting. And of course, in the process, I want to show you how to use the reports and create the reports. But I do want to make sure you know that if you're in Matrix, let me go to one of my recent searches. All right, so when you're in Matrix, if you scroll all the way to the right, you have Realist and IMAP here. But if you are in the listing details for a property, these little multicolored dots right here are for RPR. And so I could click on this, and it's going to open up that property's information in RPR. So if I find something in Matrix and I want to see some info through the RPR lens, I don't have to take the address or the MLS number and then go launch RPR, enter that information and find the property. It is linked within the details. So right up here, I've got all these lovely links. We can just click on that RPR multicolored dot logo and it's going to open up that property in RPR. Okay, now this property is, as you can see, it was active in the MLS. So when I'm studying a specific property in this situation, it's active, I will see that information and that MLS information here. So these pictures are coming from the MLS, the listing agent and listing office comes from the MLS as well as the remarks. I've got the list price here, right? And then if I scroll down, historical records is going to show me every time it was listed. And I could potentially compare each of those listings and see how that property has changed and progressed over the years. Okay, now that property is in the MLS, but more often than not, if I need to use RPR to study a property, it's because it's not in the MLS. Maybe, maybe I need to create a CMA. I'm going to do a listing presentation and I want to prepare myself. I can enter an address right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter an address. And I know this property sold back in June, I want to say. So it's still going to have MLS info, but it is technically off market. So for every property, you're going to have these tabs up here. You have your summary, your history, charts, refined value, CMA, and neighborhood information. I have the address, okay, and next to the address on the right-hand side, I can save the property, print, or create a report. If I decide to save the property, I can save it with just the address, or I can actually delete this and rename it and save the changes. So let's say I'm prepping for a listing presentation and Betty Boop is the owner. I'm going to go ahead and leave the address, add in Betty's name. It's been saved. Now, anytime that you open a listing or a property, anytime that you save it, anytime you run a search or save a search, create a report, anything that you do, you're going to see it under My Work. So now that I saved this property, if I click on My Work and I click on My Saved Properties, it's going to take me back to the home screen to this tile or card that says Saved Properties, and here's the property that I just saved. If I no longer want to save it, I'm just going to remove this little star, okay? So when you want to remove it from your saved properties or your saved searches, just look for that star or the heart, click on it, and it will remove it. Print is going to print the information that you have on screen in that moment, and then Create Report is going to take you to your report section. When you click on Create Report, okay, some of these reports are only available for neighborhoods, so it'll say it. But you can create a property report. Okay, you can create the seller's report, the property flyer, the mini report, and then anything regarding market activity and neighborhoods, that's going to be based off of the zip code, not that specific property per se, because you're looking at a larger picture. Okay. I'm going to go back to the property. So you have these breadcrumbs up here on the left. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It makes it really easy to go back without worrying about things getting lost by using the arrows in the browser. Now, this is the summary. So because it was in the MLS back in June and it sold back in June, I still have the MLS pictures because it's a recent sale. I can go ahead and I can scroll through the pictures from the MLS. If it were not in the MLS and there were no recent history, I would minimum have Google Street View, which lets you click around, and overhead. So minimum, you're going to have Street View and the overhead view. Because this has MLS history, I have the historical photos. If I click, okay, it's telling me, it's showing me 2020. So the picture's from 2020. And then if I keep on clicking, eventually I'm going to get through the 2020 pictures, right? I'm going to get through all of them. And now I'm in 2019. See, showing 2019. So I can actually go back. And I also have the listings here. So let's say I want to see what the listing looked like back in 2011. Here's what it looked like in 2011. Okay, it's quite the change in the last 10 years. So that's what it looked like in 2010, 2011. This is what it looks like now. Okay, so you can compare it. You have the map. The map is not just there to show you the location. If you realize it says click to open the interactive map. When you open it, you have additional map tools. So I see estimated value for properties around the property that I'm studying. Here's the property right here. I can run a search. So even though I'm analyzing a specific property, I can jump into searching around this property. On the right-hand side, I have my plus and minus to zoom in and out. I have my bullseye to kind of move the map back to current location. I have these arrows, which are to expand the map. So if I'm using the map, I can kind of open it up to take up the whole screen and see things really easily. If I click on that icon again, it's going to close it back up or shrink it. I can change the view. Right now I have road view, but I can use satellite, aerial, or terrain. I can draw on the map, freehand, radius, polygon, or box. If I click on drive, I have travel time. I can measure distance, and I can see traffic count, which will let me know how many cars have driven or drive on that road on a daily basis. I have POIs, or sometimes I've heard it referred to as POIs, which are points of interest. And I can say, let me see the nearby daycares because that's important to the customer. I click on apply, and I may have to zoom out a bit to see this, but here's a daycare right here. Okay, and if I click, I can see the name of the business, employees, sales volume, square footage, and it tells me where I got that information. If I click on POIs and I say clear, it'll clear everything out. I can also click on schools and see public, private, charter, elementary, middle, and high schools. So let's say I need to see, or I want to see the public and charter schools. I click, and again, I might have to zoom out a little bit to see that information, but you'll see graduation caps. Like there's one right over here. Let me move, there's one right here. You'll click on the little graduation cap and it'll give you additional school info. Let me scroll down. You've got data layers, which are going to give you access to real estate indicators like estimated home value or the estimated value of per square foot. And you can also see flood zones. It's going to color code the map. There you go. Okay, let me clear that out. Okay, and then if I click on legend, it'll tell me what every icon on the map means. All right, so I just wanted to point out that the map is not just there for location purposes, but it's got tools built in. In property summary, I can see that it's closed. It closed back in June, as I mentioned. The RVM is the estimated value. There's a small I right next to it that explains that it is generated by using an AVM, which is the automated valuation model, using on-market and off-market MLS listing data. Plus, they're using publicly recorded sold data to provide their own version of the estimated property value. Okay. Refine value, which we'll be talking about shortly, allows you to edit and tweak the value of a property. Comp analysis is to create the CMA. You've got basic facts. You've got more information on that RVM. You've got public facts. If it were in the MLS, you would also have a column with MLS info, and then your changes where you can basically write down any, changes, discrepancies, notes that you might have. Beneath that, you have the option to add a note, okay? And those notes are only available for you. They are not going to affect the way that someone else sees that listing or property. And you can also choose to have those notes included in the reports that you create or not. We have school information with school grades, okay? The AARP Livability Index, so housing affordability and access to life, work, and play, safe and convenient options, clean air and water, prevention, etc. And then you can jump to see it on AARP. You have interior and exterior features, other details, location details, owner facts, legal description, tax information, deed records. Okay, this is all under the summary. If I scroll back up, on the right-hand side beneath the map, I have the Valuate tool for investment purposes and investment analysis. I have notes, pictures, and I can also calculate seller's proceeds. Now, on the mobile app, you can also take notes, take pictures, and you can also record voice memos. Whatever you do on the app is visible when you log into your computer or laptop, and vice versa. You have your historical records for this property. That's the MLS history. And then you have information on this zip code. Okay. Now, that was all under summary. If I click on history, here's the history for the property, sales and financing activity. If I hover over or click on any of these little icons, I'll get more information. You have your sales transactions and tax info, as well as mortgage records. If the property had ever been in foreclosure, you would see that here as well. On the right-hand side, beneath the historical records for the property, you also again have the information for that zip code. That kind of stays there through most of these sections. Next to history, I have charts. It's loading. Okay. Median estimated home value for this property compared to the zip code, the county, and the state. You have the median estimated home value versus the median listing price, median sales price versus sales volume, median listing price versus listing volume, listing inventory, inventory of distressed listings, median sales price by square foot, price per square foot of homes sold, price per bedroom, price range, age range. Okay. Next to charts, we have refined values. So this comes in handy if you are, let's say, prepping for a listing presentation. And the last time it was listed, it needed updating, and so the owners purchased it and they updated it and they, redid the kitchen, or they added a pool, or they replaced the roof. That adds value to the property. How do you modify the value of the property to reflect that? So for example, let's say they added a bathroom, and I need to now kind of determine what kind of value that added to the property. If you come to refine value, you'll notice it's single family, it's got 1 floor, it's 3 bedrooms, it's about 1,500 square feet, and it's a 3-2. Well, let's say they added a bathroom or a half bathroom. Where it says partial bath, if I change that 0 to 1, because they added a half bath, and I click apply, it's going to calculate the estimated value that added to the property. Okay, so in this situation, RPR is saying that a half bath added to this property would raise the value approximately $16,500. I'm going to get rid of it by clicking on reset. You can also refine value using any of the categories that are listed in this dropdown. So let's say they remodeled the kitchen. I can go to major kitchen remodel, mid-range, and let's say they did it in January of 2018 for $20,000. Most of your consumers are going to say, well, I spent $20,000, so it's going to add $20,000. That is incorrect, right? Depreciation kicks in. So if I click on add, they're going to calculate that depreciation, and that remodeled kitchen from a few years ago is adding only $10,000 to the value of the property according to RPR's calculations. So you can use it to calculate how the value is affected. You can also use it to calculate how the value is affected if it needs improvements. So here you have refined value by needed improvement. Maybe they need a new roof, right? And you get some estimates and they say that the new roof is going to be $25,000. I click on add, and that is going to recalibrate the value based on the fact that it needs an improvement. You can also use the refined value for market and home conditions and use these sliders to say this property is better or worse than its surrounding area, and it will go ahead and recalibrate everything. All right, next to refined value, we have the CMA. The CMA, we go through it in a class called the CMA workshop. We talked to you about the process and the criteria for comparables, and then we create a report in Matrix, RPR, and we pull comparables from IMAP. So when you create a CMA, it is going to walk you through these 5 steps. Step 1 is going to confirm the home facts. You're going to say, yes, everything's okay. You're going to then find comparables in step 2. You're going to enter your criteria. Okay. This property is a 3-2, so let's go ahead and change that. The living area, the lot size, right? And then you're going to add in the area. So we usually say half a mile, so I draw a shape, radius, I click, I drag about half a mile, give or take a little bit, and then I search in this area. It's gonna pull comparables for me. Awesome, and then all I have to do is add my comps. I'm not doing this accurately, but I'm just showing you how it works. You're gonna add your comps, update the valuation. Once you've added your comps in step 3, you can make adjustments. So if I click on adjust comps, I can now use these sliders to say the comparable is better or worse than the subject property, and it will recalibrate the value. I click update value and close. And then in review comp analysis, they're going to give me a price. I can also edit this. And then all I have to do is create the report. It's going to take me to the reports. Here's the seller's report. And in the CMA workshop, if I leave all of these pages, it's telling me that the report is going to have approximately 81 pages. For listing presentations, I'm sure you don't want to present 81 pages and your customer doesn't want to sit through 81 pages. So in the CMA workshop class, I do recommend what pages you would want to keep or remove, okay? You can personalize the report, and then at the end you can display it now, or you can email it. I'm going to go ahead and just run it now. And while we're at it, I do also want to show you the property report. So I'm going to go ahead and click on property report. It's about 28 pages, and I'm going to run that report. I also want to just take advantage while we're in the report section. And I also want to show you what the mini property report looks, which is approximately 12 pages instead of 28. So it is not as detailed and lengthy. I'm going to go ahead and click on run report. And then we'll do the market activity, the neighborhood, and the school reports later. Let's go ahead and run the flyer too. So you can, because this was in the MLS, you can pick from the MLS pictures. You're going to enter a headline. Okay. I can add a description. Which is basically remarks. I'm just going to add a little something. And then you can, for the flyers, choose to suppress or remove the year built, remove the tax amount, remove the subdivision. You can remove the school district, and you can remove the MLS number. Okay. So I took advantage and I ran a few reports. It's letting me know some of them are done. So I did, so that you can see it, I ran the property report, the seller's report, which is the CMA, the property flyer, and the mini property. The valuation workbook is generally used by appraisers because appraisers do also use RPR, or they can if they want to. The last ones we'll do toward the end of class are market activity, neighborhood, and school. Okay, I'm going to go back to the property using the breadcrumbs that are up here. Okay, and we're going to keep talking about some more of the information that you have available when you are studying a property. Okay, so we talked about the CMA. The last button or tab we have is the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is going to be based on that zip code. So as you can see, the breadcrumbs now change, and it says home neighborhood search 33155, which is the zip code for this property. The summary, housing, people, economy, and quality of life are all related to 33155. So they're going to tell me the median estimated value of properties in this zip code, how those values have changed in the last month and the last 12 months. I'm going to see the comparison of the zip code, the city, the county, the state. I'm going to see the median sales price versus sales volume, list price versus listing volume, the population of children in the zip code, population of adults in the zip code, their ages. Okay. On the right-hand side, I have nearby neighborhoods so that I can compare surrounding neighborhoods with this one. And then I have nearby schools. Okay. If I go back up and I go into housing, again, this is all tied into neighborhood. Okay. In housing, I'm going to see the zip code, the city, the county, the state, and the country comparison side by side. I'm going to see things like the estimated home value, the change in the last 12 months, median list price, changes to that list price in the last month, in the last 12 months, the home age, percent that own versus rent. Okay, and then these stats that you see down here are going to be pretty much the same as what we saw earlier. After housing, you have people. With people, you will see the population per square mile. You will see changes to population. You will see percentage of men versus percentage of women, levels of education. There we go. So here's the population density, changes since the last census, median age, male versus female ratio, level of education, population again of the children's ages, population of adult ages, households with children, income brackets, occupation, and presidential voting patterns. Next to people, we have economy. That's going to give you like labor force and unemployment rate. There we go. So income per capita, household income, unemployment rate, employment number, labor force. Here's the unemployment rate, the city, county, state, and country comparison. And then lastly, we have quality of life for the neighborhood. Quality of life has weather, it has walkability scores. Here we go. Annual rainfall, days of full sun, water quality, commute time, how people get to work, monthly temperatures. There's that AARP livability index again, the walkability score. And if I wanted a report of all of this neighborhood information, I can click on create report on the right-hand side. It will automatically select the neighborhood. Okay, and if at any point in time you wanted to remove pages, you would just click on this plus symbol. It'll expand and then you can just remove the check marks. I'm going to go ahead and click on run report. And at the end of class, I'll show you all of the reports. Okay, so that's how you would generate the neighborhood report. Let's say, I'm going to go back home. Let's say I wanted the neighborhood report without having to pull up a specific property. I would just type in a zip code, or it's usually by zip code, so it's best to stick to zip code. Let's say I wanted to generate it for 33145. There it is. Okay. Once it takes you to results for properties in that area, just click on create report on the right-hand side. Okay, and then select neighborhood or market activity or what have you, and you can create it that way. Another way, if you want to just create a report and you want to skip through the search process, you can always just click on reports. Okay, select the report that you want to create. Let's say a neighborhood report. Sorry, it's letting me know a report is done. Up here, if it has, usually it'll save the address or the zip code that you used last. You can always just change it. So it was still on 33155. I wanted 33145. Okay, there it is. I changed it and now I can say, okay, I want the neighborhood report for this. And then just run the report. Market activity. Okay, the market activity is going to give you just that. Market snapshots, estimated home values. It's going to give you tons of detailed information on any of these change types. I do talk about this in a class called Market Stats using Matrix, RPR, and more. Highly recommend that class as well. But basically, it's going to give you market reports for that specific market. Okay, so you can see changes in the last 3 days, the last week, the last month, the last 3 months, or the last 6 months. You can choose to include for sale and for lease or not. You can select what kind of change types you want to see. So new listings, price changes, open houses, pending, closed, expired, distressed. You can specify what kind of property types you're focused on. You can even focus on sale price, lease price, beds, bath, living area, lot size, how many properties you want to see per change type, and how you want those properties sorted. Okay, and again, it's going to create a market update. I talk about it a little bit more in the market stats class. Okay, I'm going to go back home. So far we've run every report except the school report. Oh, it dropped my report. But the last one that we have left is the school report. Okay, so again, if you go to reports and you say, I want to create a school report. Okay, it's going to tell you, you must first search for a school before generating the report. Okay, let's talk about this map area while I give the system a few seconds to see if the reports will cooperate. I did create or tried to create a lot of reports at the same time, so maybe it's just not happy with me, so we'll wait. All right. So let's talk about the markets. You have two ways of editing your markets. Either top right, click on the arrow and go into your settings. And you can then look for the area that says My Markets and add or remove your markets here. Or on the home screen, you'll notice that with the map, it says My Markets, add or edit. If I click on add, obviously, it's going to take me here so that I can add. If I click on edit, it's going to take me back there so that I can edit. because you can remove them just by clicking here. You can really easily add an area by typing in the name of the city, the zip code, the neighborhood, and then just select it from the drop down and it will get added in. I already had Hialeah. For each market on the map, you will now see the sales, the leases, the price changes, pending, closed. So this is what's going on in Miami Springs. If I want to see what's going on in Hialeah, I click on Hialeah, I give it a second, the map is going to kind of move over to Hialeah and then give me a breakdown of what's happening in Hialeah. Okay, so those are your markets and you're going to see them here. Okay, now let's see if it will cooperate again. Let's go to reports. And it was the market activity report that was acting up. Let's see if it ran it. It said failed. Let's rerun. It's thinking about it. Fingers crossed. Okay, it's running. So last one we needed to run was the school report. Let's say I wanted to analyze, I don't know, Plantation, right? And I have someone who's interested in moving to Plantation, but they want school information, right? I'm going to go ahead and say, let's look for sale, right? And for sale, let's look for active, single family, condo and townhouse, price range, anything that's under $500,000. Okay. And we're going to search and let's see what we get. All right. So we got 214 properties. Now, if I click on any of these, remember that we're going to have school information usually on the right-hand side when you get into the neighborhood, right? So I can now go to neighborhood. You have a couple of different ways to get the school information. This is just one of them. I'm waiting for the neighborhood to load. There we go. And on the right-hand side, I see the schools. Okay. So I'm going to click on the school on one of the elementaries. And here I see the summary, I see the reviews, I can create the report, I can see the nearby listings. So what happens if instead of giving you a location, someone tells you a school? I really want my kid to go to XYZ school, so I want to find a property next to or close to XYZ school. If you go to research, you'll see that there's a school search option. So that was one way to get to the school information. You're going to pull up an area, a zip code, a city, or even a specific property and go to the neighborhood and you'll see the schools. The other way is if you go to research and you click on school search, okay, you're going to enter a city, a state, or a zip code. So let's say, again, they were interested in Plantation. So I'm going to say Plantation. You can also use a school name. So if they had given me the school name, this is where I would put that in. Now for Plantation, I'm interested in all of the school types. We're going to go ahead and click on that magnifying glass and it's going to bring up the schools for Plantation. So we have American Academy, which is private, so there's no school letter grade. We have American Heritage, which is private. It does have a school grade. We have Ben Gamla, which is charter, elementary, and middle. So it's going to give you the breakdown of everything. So if they had given you a specific school, let's say American Heritage, right? You're going to go ahead and use the name of the school and or the location, and it's going to give you the school. You can, at this point, click on the name of the school, and it's going to give you the summary, the comparisons and ratings. And I can then say, show me the nearby listings. Right here, I can click on view nearby listings. Now remember, I don't have a consumer facing version of this. So now if I wanted to give them a report with all of this information, I would need to create that school report. Okay, so I'm just going to go back, and instead of pulling those listings, you could click on create report. Instead of view nearby listings, click on create report. And now for school report, if I click on that plus symbol, it's going to show the school summary, the reviews, the nearby schools, nearby properties for sale. And then you can choose what kind of schools, surrounding schools you want to include and what levels. how far out do you want it to go? Let's say a mile. And how far out do you want it to go for the properties? And then you can run your report. Okay. So that's two different ways of getting the school information. Either pull up a specific area and then go to the neighborhood information to see the schools, or you can go to research up here at the top and click on school search. I'm going to go back home just to kind of clear everything out. And let's try this one more time. And I'm going to pull it from here instead. So I'm going to click on create report. I'm going to click on market activity. And hopefully market activity is working. All right, so at this point, we have effectively created one of each of these reports. And I am hoping that that market activity decides to cooperate. All right, so we had created one of each of the reports. We created a property report. Remember that you're gonna see everything, all of your reports. If you come to the report section, you'll see them up here. As you can tell, I have them. Or if you click on my work, and you go to my report, it's going to take you back to the home screen to that card that has the reports. So we have the property report. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that. And remember that you can remove pages. So if it's too lengthy, you can always remove. This is the property report. It is everything that we discussed. The summary, the charts, the neighborhood, the refined value, if you did any of that, all of the pictures, all of the home facts, the walkability score, that AARP livability score. So it's everything. It's if you did the CMA is in there. It is 31 pages just with property information, flood zones, demographics, everything. If you want something a little shorter, you can edit that report or you can run the mini property report. The mini property report is about half the size, okay, and it's a little more condensed. And of course, you can always remove pages and kind of tailor your reports that way. We also created a flyer. Okay, the flyer is one page. You're going to have the map location. You're going to have that picture that you chose or the Google Street View. You're going to have property information and the description that you added, as well as your contact info. You can then take this and you can post it on social media. Because if I click on this drop down, I can download the report, I can delete it, I can post it on Facebook. We have the property report and the mini property report, and I just showed you the flyer. So let's talk about, where is my CMA? Here's the seller's report. So the seller's report, I left everything. It is 78 pages long. There is no need for a 78-page listing presentation or CMA. Please attend the CMA workshop class where we give you the list of suggested pages that will cut this report in half at the very least. But it is very detailed. So you might not want this for the customer, but maybe for yourself to understand that market before you present definitely would be helpful. Okay, but this could be a bit much for the potential seller. All right, we have the neighborhood report. Let's go ahead and open that. So the neighborhood report is everything we discussed for the neighborhood, the housing, the labor force, the walkability score, the demographics. That's what you're going to find in the neighborhood report. Okay. We also did the market report. It took a few tries, but it worked. The market report is going to have market activity based on what you selected in that section, but this is a market snapshot. Okay, and I would come in here and I would pull this maybe every week, every other week. I would say once a week, and you'll get an idea of what's going on in your markets, aside from the market updates that you get on your homepage as well. And then lastly, we had done the school report specifically with one school, but what's nice about the school report is you'll get the school information, right? Here it is, but then you're also going to get nearby schools. So you're not influencing your customer because you're in the same report giving them schools that are nearby. Okay, and then the list of properties that are nearby. So we have officially shown you the property report, the seller's report, the property flyer, the mini property report, the market activity, neighborhood, and school report. So the last thing I wanted to show you is an example of how you could use RPR to farm and prospect and then create mailing labels. So I'm going to go home just to, again, kind of clear everything out. And we're gonna go ahead and if you go to research, actually it's under marketing, you can prospect for residential clients, right? So when you click, it's going to walk you through the process. And this is kind of new. So what are you looking for, buyers or sellers? Maybe I'm looking for potential sellers, right? Inventory is low. I want to see if I can get a potential seller. Go to research and it says click on map search. So it walks you through the process. It says make sure that you are in residential. I am. Okay, next. Enter an area such as a zip code and then click on the magnifying glass. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say I want to use Plantation again. So we would specify a location. Okay, and then it says click on the filters to expand and use the advanced search. Okay, so what I would do is I don't want any sales. I'm working with public record this time, right? And I'm not worried about price, but I'm looking at single family and condo. I'm looking at public record. Okay, and the system, if you decide to use the whole research and marketing option, it will walk you through. But let's say I'm looking for owners who purchased their home 10 years ago, right? Or have had their home a long time. Well, there's a section that says time owned, and I can say, show me anyone who's had their property 10 or more years. Okay, you can also do owner occupied. If it is not owner occupied and it's an absentee owner, they're probably renting it out. So I could send marketing materials to those potential renters. But let's say here I'm working with owners, right? So I'm going to say owner occupied and they've been there at least 10 years. And when you farm and prospect, you're basically fishing and you're putting out some bait with the criteria to see what happens. Maybe you'll get results, maybe you won't. Okay, I have too many. Right? I have way too many. So what I could do at that time is I could just maybe draw on the map so that I have something that's a little smaller of an area, right? Or I can change to a zip code. Okay, I'm still getting more than 500 results, but that's okay. Now, when you look at your results over here on the right-hand side, I have the list. So I can see the list of properties. I have the grid, which gives me thumbnails and some details, and then I have the map. Okay. Now, when you have your list of results and you're ready to create mailing labels, I can go ahead and I can select. Let's see if I can get these results reduced though, so that I can show you. Okay, so I still have a lot. I'm going to go ahead and create mailing labels. What I do is I select the properties. So you'll notice there's a little checkbox here on the left, and then you have three options: mailing labels, print, or create a report. Well, I want to create mailing labels so that I can send materials to these owners and see if any of them are interested in selling. I click on mailing labels, and now I can either have it created as a CSV, which opens in Excel, or a PDF. I can choose my style of label. I want it to get to the owner, so whenever I want to communicate with the owner, I'm always going to send it to the tax billing address. Okay, now the owner name, do I want it addressed to them? Do I want it to say their name and current resident? Do I want it to only say current resident? Or do I want to customize something? In filters, I can say, I want owner occupied, right? Do I want to exclude listed properties? Yes, because I don't want to get in trouble. If they are already listed, they have an agent and I'm not going to communicate with them. I can exclude properties on the do not mail list, and I can exclude properties with incomplete addresses. Now you can export and create labels up to 2,000 a month. Right now, it's telling me I have 2,000, and in this export, there's 1,300. So that means that for the rest of the month, I would be left with about 700 labels to create. I don't want to waste all of my labels, so I'm going to go ahead and just say, you know, maybe the first 100 just to show you an example, or the first 25. And then you click on print. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. So give me 1 second. And I'm going to share with you. Okay, there you go. There are my mailing labels. And now I can print them out, put them on my materials, and communicate with these owners to see if they are interested in selling their property, right? And I can do some farming and prospecting that way. So you can use RPR to study a specific property, to create a CME, to create a property report, a mini property report, a CMA, a flyer. You can analyze an entire area and do a market report activity. You can do a neighborhood report, or you can search according to school and have information presented that way. And then you can also do some farming and prospecting. This is one of the examples, but I could also do owner occupied, yes or no. I could do distressed properties, which is foreclosures, print my mailing labels, and then send out my marketing materials. You can only create 2,000 labels a month though, so just keep that in mind. All right, let me go back to RPR. There we go. Okay, and we have officially reached the end of RPR Residential. Please remember that RPR does have a mobile application. And if you are interested in learning how to use that mobile application, I invite you to sign up for Mobile Realtor with Miami, or you can watch the recordings I have on YouTube. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Thank you so much for attending today's class and for bearing with me when we were having those technical difficulties with the market report. Luckily, we got it to work and to cooperate. And again, thank you for being Miami members, for being with us. Thank you to Connie for jumping in here to help. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I hope everyone has a wonderful week.